Thank you, and good afternoon. The fact that we've made it to Saturday, and in spite of this beautiful weather and climate here, well, I still hope that this topic is interesting and relevant to you. And hopefully the next hour will be used by you with use, and you will get lots of insights, and most importantly, something that you will be able to put into practice. Let's get synchronized. Who of you represent enterprise security, information security services, protecting the frontiers of your respective companies? At least 1/3 of this room, and the others are vendors or auditors or integrators, as far as I understand. Well, my presentation is mostly devoted to the first group. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Nikolai. Understanding the background of all of your categories, because in the beginning of my career, I was in charge of protecting infrastructures for commercial business and so forth, and then I migrated to and joined a commercial company. So I've been in charge of such security systems based on shared information. That's exactly what we're going to discuss. We'll go over the community platforms and experience exchange points that are present on the market and that we use on a daily basis. We'll discuss their challenges and disadvantages and how those challenges can be overcome with existing platforms through exchanging data between security services by creating a single universal security field in place. First of all, the principles we proceeded from when creating our own project, and hopefully I'll get. And we've been getting huge feedback. Well, first of all, I'm speaking about openness, where the knowledge and experiences that we amass in our companies are shared with the community. Applying this to a specific rule, the rule is each and every information security system, regardless of your budget or maturity level, we are still, whether you are a single one in the battlefield or a complete team, regardless of all this, you should have access to state-of-the-art expertise and advanced knowledge, which will help you to build and develop your information protection systems. Why is it necessary for us as professionals to develop? It's extremely important, because should we develop within our respective bubbles, the efficiency will be minimal. Well, developing ourselves, we improve information security of our own companies, which is great per se, because that's for what we work in our companies. But there is another aspect, which is improving the security and protection of our state, because we as professionals do our work well. Well, this is a high and highly motivating goal, which gives rise to the following: various subscriptions to best practices and recommendations are not only dating back to the previous century. It's against the principle, the mere principle of openness, and it should be left behind. Another thing that should be kept in mind: knowledge as a service is not acceptable for the market. There are people, such as integrators, they come to you to sell their expertise to you, but in fact, they sell the same model documents that you decorate with your company's logos. This should also be left behind. Everything that's left that's based on digital data should be made publicly available. Well, this is the basic principle we rely upon and proceed from, and hopefully all those others on the market will do the same. Now let me proceed to the next part. I said we should share experience. As an expert expert, I should share my experience. If I'm a beginner and new kid on the block, I need experience, and I need most recent experience rather than those manuals and guidebooks that may have been written some 5 years ago and having become irrelevant. So, how can I get access to this expertise, or how can I share it? For this, we offer quite a lot of information sharing mechanisms. In the first place is all those various news hubs and portals, including the developments of individual developers like Cracking Portal or Vitasec from Evgeny Radekin, which accumulates a huge number of security documents, various tool sets, and so forth. So, the portals. However, in addition to them, there are blogs, and they are a true source of a real-world experience. And we have more than 100 of them listed on our web resource. This is our website. Feel free to get access to it. Well, blogs is great. Portals is great. However, how much time do you usually spend reading a news portal? Maybe 30 minutes per day, maybe even less. By and large, the mechanism of delivering data via news portals does not allow us to be 100% efficient in using this knowledge. And later I'll explain why. Another source of knowledge which is particularly important and relevant today is Telegram, not WhatsApp, not Twitter, but Telegram, with its 800-plus channels, including those devoted to information security, where we can discuss various case studies and get feedback. It is there where life is. It is there where real knowledge is exchanged. It is there that we share information with our colleagues. There may be closed user groups or chats. This is exactly the tool that belongs to this day. However, there is another source of information which comprises the knowledge and expertise of various professional communities. For example, RESCOP, an auditor specializing in information security. They have accumulated all their expertise on GOST 57580.1. Other finance people here, yes, I know, is your favorite GOST standard. So, those guys, instead of selling their expertise as a service, instead of selling their knowledge without granting open access to this knowledge, they put in place an open platform to share knowledge on these GOST, how to ensure compliance with it. And they developed this community by getting a lot of feedback from other stakeholders. This is just one example of how an integrator who otherwise should have kept it all for themselves opened it for the rest of the world instead. There is also InfoSystem Jet, another huge integrator. What did they do? They took a number of their highly sophisticated solutions for Kubernetes and others, posted them on GitHub. There is also security expert community. You can see their logo here. I think they should work on their logo. On a regular basis, they post open source project devoted to information security on GitHub, offering solutions as interesting as Irmak, which is a kind of a continuation or extension of Niche attack, but it looks at the world not from the perspective of attackers, but instead from the perspective of those who are in charge of protection against attack. There are other communities that are designed to share experience and knowledge. Are there any problems in this domain? Of course there are. On the one hand, there are data. On the other hand, there is our life as an information security service. To take advantage of those data and make them part of our work, we need to perform a lot of actions which we're sometimes lazy to perform. There are those data. However, to take advantage of those data, one needs to get it, examine it, explore it, and implement it. And this is quite laborious operation. And that's not because we're lazy. Sometimes we just don't have time for it, or we don't have resources for that. And this lack of link between data and real-life operations is a problem that impedes this expertise sharing. So, what have we come up with? As a vendor, we offer an information security system. However, why don't we come up with an information security system that, on the one hand, would be able to grab all the data from and generate data for the community, serving as a platform for information exchange, while, on the other hand, serving as a platform for building specific information security mechanisms for specific stakeholders to be taken advantage of by our users. This is a project I would like to discuss with you as well. So here are the three principles we rely upon in building our system. In the first place, it's our community version, which is full-fledged and absolutely free. Without it, my talk here would be pointless. Secondly, our system should incorporate all the knowledge and expertise that can be reached, to have it at the fingertips. And third, communication mechanisms that are intended to make your system of information exchange dynamic rather than static, allowing you to exchange data with your colleagues. So these are the three principles that we proceeded from in building our company, and I'm going to give you now more details about them. First, as to our community for GSC system, it's publicly available. What does it have? It comprises all the tools that are present in our product, including all the data. They're open for all. As far as the restrictions are concerned, in the first place, it's not open source, it's a cloud-based version. It is a proprietary product. However, its cloud-based version is free of charge, and it's not limited by any time frame. Secondly, it supports up to 100 objects per module. And moreover, in our community version, due to technical reasons, we failed to provide for direct integration. There are plenty of integration and protection tools to enable the system to absorb data. However, what I mentioned first, it's hardly possible in the cloud. So these are some limitations which nevertheless do not prevent you from building your information protection systems. Now I'm going to demonstrate the solution to you. This is our main UI. By the way, are there any users of our community version or local version? Please raise your hands. Well, okay, quite a few, which means that some of you are familiar with this dashboard. This is our portal. You can sign up to it and get access to all these tools. This is our cloud-based solution. What does it have? Here you can see some key modules of the system. You can drill down into each and every of them. Altogether, they provide a framework for an ideal information security and information security management system. Let's go over them for you to understand what kind of product and functionality it is and how you can take advantage of it. I'm speaking about our community channels. In the first place, I'll cover our strategy module. That's why we exist as an information security service. It's about ensuring compliance with rules, regulations, and best practices of whether your partners or counterparts. Well, the next one is risk management. Why do we exist? It is to ensure compliance and risk management, problem management and mitigation. If there are other domains, I'll be glad to hear about them from you. However, these are the two principal purposes of the security, information security department. The other modules are for all of the things that we do, starting from AV module introduction and all the way down to compliance with rules, regulations, as well as mitigating potential risks. The fourth module here is metrics, which allows us to trace and measure information security KPIs in order to be sure that we're on track. But it's not every day that we, as a security department, deal with strategy. Maybe once a quarter or once a month. The rest of the time we devote to routine operations, for which the other modules exist, such as task management, robotic process automation, where you can use constructs to come up with logic structures and chains, and another module which enables communications with people, evaluation, feedback, processing, all those things that we may need to communicate with our personnel, our IT people and business people and others. Asset management, of course. Speaking about assets, we mean our IT assets, including our servers and so forth, as well as our business assets, business systems, our counterparts, all those businesses we deal with, ERP and so on and so forth. All those things are also supported by our dashboard and our system. You can download data coming from your security scanners. Well, all those things are available from our cloud-based version, but I'm not here to speak about our tools, although I could discuss our modules and specific tools for hours. I'm here to discuss data. I'd like to tell you how we use data to ensure the operation of our system and how you can use them. So, getting back to my presentation, I'd like to proceed to the next module, which is about knowledge and expertise. We've decided for ourselves that an ideal information security system should be based on 4 data sources. The first one being catalogs and best practices. The second one is rules and regulations. The third one being content that we create ourselves or find somewhere, any content. So 3 sources of knowledge: catalogs, regulations, and content. And there is a fourth one, which is about protection tools intended to protect lower-level IT infrastructures, including the knowledge on such infrastructures. So, combining the 4 components, we, as an information security department, can have some vision of a specific model of data security within our company. The fourth module, it is grayed out here. I'd like to focus on the first 3. And firstly, catalogs. So, what have we done? We took all those popular catalogs that we use, had them integrated, old data security catalogs, BDU stack catalogs, all those Russian standard-based things that we have to work with. Let's have a look at how it works. We have a catalog module in our system where all those things are present. BDU stack, our attack database, meter attack, and others. Besides the threat catalog, BDU stack, and NKCKI, all those things are intended to help us manage vulnerabilities. CP catalogs or protection tool certificate catalogs that we use in our system. Let's cast a glance at how it works. All those key catalogs are in our system already. You can open Meter website or our website. You will find all the same data there. What comes next? Those data are not present here just to have them. We need them to manage risks, namely when we create our risk registers or risk management plans, schedules, and so forth with respective criteria, appointing those responsible, task assignment, and so forth. Here, we link up risk management tasks with the catalogs of Meter and others, and this allows us to update them on a regular basis. And your risk managers can look at all the things from the perspective of potential risk. We have our BDU catalog. On the other hand, we can see specific infrastructure risks with which we can work. So, having centralized it all, and risk management can be made up and running faster, it can get connected to the best practices. You can see both Meter and BDU. Well, we can compare them, of course, in terms of tactics. And techniques were very much alike, being pretty up-to-date, while on the other hand, there are plenty of information devoted to all those threat details. Well, if we compare these two sources, we would come to the conclusion that they deal with all the same things. And you can take all those risks and map them to BDU and Meter. Speaking again about the catalogs, I can show you our vulnerability catalogs. There are threat catalogs, risk catalogs. Why do we need them right here? It's needed because you want to centralize, aggregate all the data coming from your security scanners through a direct integration or through reporting system. They can be expensive enterprise-level scanners or free-of-charge tools, which are also instrumental in finding vulnerabilities. So you centralize all those inputs, analyze them, do task setting, establish interdependencies, namely dependencies with your mission-critical systems. You have all those things in your system, have reports generated, and you can see that there are vulnerabilities coming from the MCKTI catalog or wrong catalog. In other words, we are combining all those bad things from both worlds. The things coming from the regulator and our own inputs. So with these catalogs, we can enrich the data available to us and make our work more efficient. And there is no gap between real-life processes and the data available from the web. These were catalogs. Now let's proceed to the regulation, to the regulatory framework. I'd like to know to what extent you are familiar with this topic, or we can move forward to discuss the catalog proper. No microphone. Sorry, the interpreter cannot hear without microphone being used. What you're talking about is about the command indicating where scanning results should be stored. You can see XO. You can scan your network, get an XML with report, upload it here, and see the vulnerabilities, including the data coming from MCKI. Thank you for your question. Have you understood how it works? Sorry, no microphone is used again. Of course, we're not going to scan your infrastructure. We have local scanning. What you do, you upload your report to the cloud and get your report for task setting and data processing. Now let's proceed to regulations. So, what did we do? We grabbed all the information security regulations and downloaded all those documents to our system, categorized it, and now we can measure our compliance, including compliance with personal information use practices, data protection practices, and so forth. What else? We have correlated and interlinked all the existing rules and regulations. In other words, when pass identification for compliance according to one standard, you do the same for all the other standards and regulations. The question is, how many standards do we need to ensure compliance with all the existing regulations? Let's assume you're a model company, a typical company, and you deal with personal data and their regulations. For that, and you also work with critical infrastructure, which is about a dozen of more standards. You may be working in the financial industry. Congratulations, the Bank of Russia is never tired to generate new rules and regulations, being very generous. So we have to deal with lots of loose rules and regulations, and we decided to centralize it. And all those regulations are available centrally through our product. You can see here 150 information security standards. Basically, all the standards that govern the work of our community, including our customers, are presented here. How does it look? Let's look at Order 21 of FSTEC. Like with any other standard, we can measure the level of compliance, including feedback and comments. We can drill down to specific areas. When doing compliance audit, we always understand that we have to deal with lots of systems, and all of them need to be audited. We can also get data by the month, current planning, current evaluation, target values, so we can complete full compliance audit for all the standards. We can also compare on a standard by standard basis, and so forth. In doing so, selecting the standards that are most relevant to you, you can do this compliance evaluation, and you can generate all kinds of reports audit reports, which is exactly one of the deliverables of an information security department. Instead of doing sophisticated checks on an annual basis.
The expertise and requirements immediately kind of link to the operations that you do at the security service. We also have colleagues from financial sector, and they have the assessment according to the state standards, and you find them all here. And I think these tables, you know them. And our financial sector is probably the luckiest one in terms of security, in terms of compliance. And that's the system for evaluation. So what else do we have here? As I said, we put together all the regulatory rules, and now we have requirements for them, and now you can do compliance check. And what we did, we bound all those requirements at work. Did you try to bind the requirement 21 and 239? So each of you have this mapping of requirements. So what about mapping 21 to 239, 217, and ISO 27001, and SWIFT, and some others? So all these are kind of linked with each other. So it's more complicated, right? So what we did here, we have 150 standards, Russian standards and international standards, and all requirements of the standards, they're correlated with each other. And it's a great analytics and stats, and we can see what standard looks like. And let me show you how it looks in the system and how you can use it in your work. Let's take one of the standards. Take your favorite one. Maybe some of you like SWIFT or CI or something like that. 21st one, classic. Recently we had a workshop, and when we had this, when we asked a question, which standard is your favorite one, and they said it's 21001. For Russian security officer, the ISO is one of the best ones. So if we follow 21st one, but we want to live in 27001, now let's take the decree 21. And let's open one of the requirements from this decree or order. Say antivirus protection. VZ1. And here we can look at the compliance assessment. We can calculate this assessment based on metrics and checklists and all that. So mechanism of assessment, it's a different story. But what's important when you look at AVZ1 of this order, we immediately can see all the requirements and all the standards that are in the base. And now you can see all the requirements that are in this tenant, and but we can tell the database, show me all documents in the database and show me indirect connections between them, because there are different graphs of connections, and show me all the descriptions of all the requirements. And here's the whole context of what our regulations ask from us. So these correlations that you can find in the system, why do we need them? Besides, it's kind of a cool source to enrich yourself as a professional, as a compliance manager. We need them because when you do the assessment according to a standard, tomorrow you'll have to do it according to a different standard, and maybe it's state standard or standard 231.9, so you will have to do them. So each other assessment, evaluation goes differently. So you can say you did one assessment, it was one requirement, and there is another requirement that may fit this one as well. So what happens, you may spend just 10 seconds for this for this comparison instead of like doing this procedure from scratch. So this table that I showed you on the screen, you can make your own. You can have your own analytical research in regulations. If you click Stat tab, you will see this statistical requirements and choosing different standards, and you can see the matrix of how these standards crisscross, so the matrix that I showed you before, you can make it up on your own, and the system creates top 10 standards. Out of the standards, it analyzes the connections and it shows you top key requirements. And this is the tool that you, as compliance manager, you can quickly understand it and you can figure out how it works. So this was the second block in compliance. In fact, all regulatory rules are similar. They speak about the same thing. These same regulatory rules in Stack Russia is 60%. It's identical in many standards. And if your company has to do evaluation based on several orders, you can actually save a lot of time when you use this linkage between the data. If you'd like to discuss some of the cases based on what I just spoke about, if you don't have any questions, then so don't forget that this database is open. It's in community version. You can use it for your work. You can speed it up. And now we move to the next block, with the different content. So what is content? Content and two registries we have in the system. This is risk catalogs and protection measures catalog. So what bad can happen in our infrastructure and what and how we can fix those problems. Not using antivirus protection, but implementing a certain instruction. So why we run these catalogs? We do that so that you can have your own ISMS and you can introduce measures and how you run them. But within the catalogs, you can have this exchange of experience between different security services, between the communities, and so on and so forth. Let's look at how it looks. So we looked at catalogs of risks in the context that these catalogs, they are linked to Mitra and RDM, and they enrich from them. Besides Mitra and
RDM,
we get these risks enrichment, and you can also use your own experience in order to share it with the community, or you can take the risks that already exist, that were created for the system. Here you can see this planet icon and the people tab. You can go there and to find this, you can go to community database, and here you can see registers of risks for any situation and for any task. And for each of these risks, you can look and study. Risks are, this is the threat of vulnerabilities in your assets. So if it's interesting, we can go deeper into this. All risks that are created in the system, you have all the descriptions of them and the link to the catalogs and the link to the protection measures that help you to mitigate those risks. The same thing we have when you have registers of protection means. What is it? Register is the database where you describe how your information security is realized in your company, what you do. Do you implement antivirus, or maybe you have a regulation, or or your measures. This is like your project manager. And here in the system, you create a ready-to-go database with all the projects and the means of protection, templates, documents, examples of different scripts, playbooks, any materials that may be needed. for us here to implement one of the activities. For example, so regulation, how to protect your information, and he immediately describes what it is, what for. Here the templates of documents. You can also find resources that you need, and what is here, there is a connection to the regulatory requirements that help you to implement the measures. For example, if you say, I'm going to approve this regulation, you take this measure using the template, you edit it the way you need, and it comes to you with all the content and with all the links it's needed. So this is basic mechanics, so that security officer wouldn't waste time for describing the typical things. In fact, about 80% of all this system of security, they're identical. We're trying to protect ourselves from the same risks with the same means. Do you have antivirus that is different from Kaspersky antivirus infrastructure? So Dr. Webb? Of course we do, but in fact, just 1%. According to our statistics, hundreds of users, these are all the same tools and the same approaches and regulations. Of course, there are nuances, but in general, we do the same thing, broadly speaking, not from the point of view of protection, but what we do, we do very similar things. So, not to describe typical scenarios, here you can have them in one single register, and you can use it for yourself and use it in your work. These are not like external catalogs, these are catalogs of the service itself that was created by our methodologists and the users of the community. And this is about catalogs. So now we'll talk about communications, how technologies are made. Here's the logic. There is one cloud community server, and there are tenants there, teams. Each user that gets registered there, they have their team, their tenant. So your company have one tenant, your company has a different tenant. Somewhere there is a training tenant. And as part of these tenants, you can take risk projects from the community and protection measures from the community. And then you can publish in the community your own findings. And this is how you share the expertise between different security services. I showed you how you can get the protection measures from community base. In the same way, if you created your own unique measure, you can post it for the community. And of course, it will go through moderation, but then it will be in the public access, and then your colleagues will be able to take it and to develop a script or a regulation, and they can build their own ISMS. So what we do, we get all the information channels that we have for exchange, and directly the security services, they directly talk to each other. So this is the concept that we have in the system. And I'll show you how it works at the tenant level. So each user can go to dozens of different teams. You can switch between them and you can exchange data. So these are the key mechanics that we have in the system. This is a free version in which you can launch any tools to manage your processes. We didn't look at all of them, we just kind of touched on them. So it is embedded content. You have all the industry standards, expertise, and catalogs that you can immediately here and now use in your work, and the communication between different teams when you can share your findings and share with your colleagues and get what your colleagues have. So everything we have in database on the risks and measures, this is the result of work of the users of the system. So where do we go? What's the next step? So we founded it in 2021. We published it on the internet. The service is used by more than 4,000 users. And what's next? Well, first of all, community solution. We keep it free. This is the mission and strategy of the company. And in the technical part of the product, we would like to cover all the domains of information security so that in one single point, you will be able to solve all your problems. So in terms of content, we're trying to do 100% coverage of all protection measures with key documents, with key regulation documents that are applied to all the security services like SWIFT and CI. And we're also trying to cover all the risks and catalogs of RDM and Mitra. We have a lot of statistical data, what measures are more valid, what risks are more in demand. We would like to use the statistics in recommendation model, and we would like to add it to the system and add more assessments and voting. There are different mechanisms of commenting between the communities, and we would like to kind of develop it more to make it more convenient, so to speak. So this is our roadmap to develop this community project. So finalizing my talk, so what you can do today if you think that this service is useful for your work. First of all, you can join the community version. Here you can see a QR code for the registration. You can also subscribe to us on Telegram, where we publish all our announcements and events and new features of the product, and we discuss certain matters in Telegram chat. You can also try yourself as a contributor role. You can create a risk a protection measure, you can share it with the community, and see how difficult it is to create content and share it. We also launched a series of workshops. It's last month, so we have it once in 2 weeks. We do it step by step. We're building an ideal ISMS. And small disclaimer, if we have here bug hunters or they watch us gray hats or white hats, so we will be happy if you decide to check our product, hack it, but please do it in a special place. We're on the bug bounty program .ru. This is a paid program. We are paying for detected bugs and vulnerabilities in the system. So we invite all of you. Besides, we're here in the PhD, the main hackers conference. So please come to the bug bounty platform and break us and hack us and use it for business and for your work, to speak. So thank you very much. Thank you for your questions and for your interest. And if we have time, I will be happy to discuss this topic, this approach together.
Николай, спасибо большое.
Nikolai, thank you very much. Colleagues, we have 2 microphones in the audience, so please ask your questions. And Nikolai will choose the best question, and you get a book. There is a book about open source, so please, that will be your award. If I will scan one host with Nmap, that's theoretically speaking, do I need to upload it in the cloud in order to get the map of matching according to the catalog of RDM and Mitra? There are no any other scenarios, only with uploading in the cloud. In terms of community version, and we don't have any variants, you can do it either with manually or using API. We have a local version that can be integrated directly. It's in your structure. It's either collects all your reports or directly integrated with scans like Max Pattern and Check and others. But that's a local commercial version. But if you're talking about the community version, then you can upload the file manually or using API. I'm sorry. Oleg, Gazprom Service Company. So I came in the middle of your talk, so maybe I missed something. This version that you were talking about, This is a service as a service, or if there is like a local version and the company as part, they can use it. That's the first question. Well, first of all, it's good that you joined in the middle, because better late than never to get interested in the topic of optimization of ISAMs. Today we're talking about the community of SGRC system. It's cloud system. It's fully functional. We're a company, we're vendors, we make money. We have commercial product, and it's the same, but you can have a local version indoors, so to speak, with a direct integration with your infrastructure, when all this data is added with a technical part about the infrastructure of the company, and they use it in holdings and multi-companies, and but we were not talking about it today. And my second question, you say that your product is of SGRC class and compliance, and you showed us how compliance works in your system, but nevertheless you call your product that we build ISMS, the management system of information security, with all this Section 2701. It's more than compliance. It's more than just SGRC. We even had this leaflet. We said that we're more than SGRC, because it's a bit kind of small for us in this classification, because we have many other systems here. We have like a super app for all process of information security, and our idea is to cover all the domains, ISO, and in terms of orders and many other things, to organize the project. So will you cover it? We will. We are covering it now. And my third question, risks. I was sitting far and I couldn't quite see what you're talking about, the risks. What do you understand by risks? So when other experts talk about risks, they think about risk in one way, but for business risk management, a completely different thing. It's about money. So there was this topic here yesterday about insurance of the risks, and insurance companies, they measure it only in money. So what is risk? What are risks for you? In terms of the structure, risks are this ISO 27 series. This is a threat, something bad, because of the vulnerability or weakness in the group of assets or in the assets. This is how technically we generate risks there. For example, a threat of flood, because there is no roof in the house. So this is a risk, according to the connotation of ISO. And for this structure, we can have low-level risks that may be compliant with MITRA, or some business stories, when you have this whole the whole section with impermissible events or other things. So that it's very difficult actually to get to the proper risk measurements. But a little bit more about the risks. In fact, we went quite deep in this story, and the first module was the module of managing risks. And what we had today here in the information security market, only 15-20% of information security, they deal somehow with the risks at the level of inadmissible events. It's not my hallucination, it's statistics based on the users and clients. We have this flag, and if it's an event or modeling the threats and understand what we're afraid of and what we're going to do with this. And so you see some companies, they don't talk about risks fairly. Sorry, we can't quite hear it. The person is not talking to the microphone. So, and it's not our guilt. It's, say, the bad thing that happened. Well, first of all, we need to go and grind many seeds, so to speak, in terms of regulatory rules, and then we need to model threats. And for risk management, not every information security can get to. So for 5 minutes, we managed to launch it through the master and through the catalogs that we have. So our goal is together to ease the entrance to the risk management. My question is, services are great. The profile that has to do with sensitive data of the company. How do you store this data? The profile is anonymous or somehow linked to the company. When you register, you can say that your company is kind of this nameless company, so to speak. Anything, any name you can give it. So how you name it, this is how it's going to be there. So that's it. Okay, understood. Thank you. So your question is, so we have a local version. So also about the compliance control. Can you upload vulnerability information system, but maybe Exchange AI or something else? What else can you upload there, actually? So in terms of Kaspersky antivirus, we have direct integration when we collect everything from there. And in fact, information about the vulnerabilities, all this LAAs, that if your VM is not built, so you definitely have Kaspersky, and you can actually build a VM process. So with Kaspersky, we have a direct link, so you can upload to the VM module. There is open API, and you can also upload the SaaS and DaaS and systems with secure developments, and this is not connected to infrastructure vulnerabilities. Or the results of ISM systems works. You can, if you write in scripts and if you send this customized request, so some result of your pen test that you did in your infrastructure can be uploaded here, and then based on this you can build the work fixing these vulnerabilities. There's a small question. Say, we have a state standard 57580 with a whole number of measures that you have to realize. For example, those that have to do with the domain policies. So how valid this data will be? Do you need to upload it for each measure, how it's realized and how we protect ourselves, or we can automate this process and observe it in the real time, monitor it in real time? There are different approaches to this. First one, when we evaluate the compliance with this Excel style, when you kind of click it quickly through and you add the certificates or whatever. So the next approach is more solid, using protection measures when you have your project management and your compliance evaluation gets adjusted depending on what you introduced in your company. And there is this third way, automatic one, through security metrics that are collected based on your security means. So security tools, we see where antivirus is installed. We take the data from ABEX, from scanner. We can see the full number of hosts. So we juxtapose the data, superimpose the data. We can see the antivirus coverage of your infrastructure and the number of accounts in your directory. With the passwords that are outdated or maybe some other things, any parameters, in fact. In the metric modules, we accumulate them, they dynamically recalculate them because we always get the data from there, and the result of those metrics, we a link to the state standard requirements and other things. So this is technical data that we receive from your infrastructure. This is really kind of open space, so to speak. But when you have how dynamically your evaluation changes, we can't do it for all controls and all the requirements of state standard or some others. But for some of them, we can do those who have to do with security services. And this is a great thing.
Colleagues, unfortunately, we've run out of time for questions. Please feel free to ask additional questions offline. And now it's time to pick the best question. I heard a few questions from the colleague from Gazprom Service, but he left. Oh, he's here. Great. So I'm picking him. Don't forget to come up to get your book. Thank you, and thank you for your attention.